Okay, here's a short video about counting. Counting, you say? What's the big deal about counting? Counting is the first thing we learn in math. But we'll see here that when we're talking about counting, we're talking about arrangements of sets, and it can be fairly complicated at times. So this is meant to be sort of an introduction to an undergrad probability course. Okay. So we're going to talk about permutations and combinations. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about some things in Python that we can use to help us check things. So a little bit of code there. All right, so let's start with permutations. And then I'm using Itertools, which is a library in Python, to do these things. And in Itertools, there is a function called permutations. So that's how we can use it. So you have a range of numbers and you're choosing R of them. Okay, and the thing to remember about permutations is that order matters. The way I remember this is I think of permutations and passwords. Both start with P. Passwords, obviously, the order of characters in a password matters. All right. So first thing we're going to talk about permutation, and this is without replacement. Okay, so you can't repeat a character or number or a ball, whatever we're dealing with. I'm going to deal with these dots. Okay, so we got 5 different dots indicated by a different color. All right, and we're going to, from the 5, so n is 5, we're going to choose 2. Okay, we're going to choose 2, and the order matters. Okay, so here's what it looks like. We start with the red first. Now we start with the green. Start with the blue. Finally, not finally, the yellow. Finally, starting with the white. Okay. And you see here, let me pause it. You see there in the top left, red, green, and then next to it to the right, green, red. So those are 2 different things to count because we care about the order in permutations. All right. So how do we calculate that? It looks like that. Okay. So it's n factorial over n minus r factorial. Okay. 5 times 4. You can also think of this one as, okay, in the first slot, there's 5 ways to choose that one. Okay. Once that one is taken up, it's not replaced, right? So there's 4 left for the next slot. 5 times 4. Okay. So that's permutations. Order matters. Next one we're going to look at is combinations. And here is the function in Itertools called combinations. And we have a range again, so it's from that range. You're going to choose our items. Okay, so we've got our 5 dots. We're going to choose 2. Okay, so the thing to remember about combination is order doesn't matter. Okay, so green, red is the same as red, green. We count that only 1 time. Here's what it looks like. Okay, and as these play out, try to notice some patterns. Okay, that's how you calculate it. Okay, and one thing to notice here is that the permutations, remember, we had 20, right? N was 5, R was 2, we had 20. So another way to think of combinations is we take all the permutations and then we divide out by the repeats. So the green, red, and red, green counts as only one. So for all of those, when you switch the order, we have 2, so we have to divide by 2 here. So another way to think of this is as 20 divided by 2. So it's the permutations divided by the repeated elements, I guess. Yeah. So 20 divided by 2. All right. That's combinations. Now let's look at combinations with replacement. Okay. There's the Itertools function. Here's our dots. Okay, so with replacement, you can think of this as you take, let's say you have a bag of balls and 4 colored balls. You take one out and you're going to mark down the color and then you're going to put it back in. Okay, so that's essentially like, it's kind of like more balls in the bag to start with because you can have repeats. Okay, I'm going to reduce the n to 4 because these numbers blow up pretty fast. So we're starting with 4, and we're going to choose 2. With replacement means that you can have duplicates. You can have pairs of the same color. So again, just notice the patterns here. That's how we calculate it. And it's like, in this case, adding one more to the bag, essentially. Okay. So it's like 5 choose 2. Okay, that's what it looks like, the calculation. And our last one is permutation with replacement. Okay, it's called the product in Itertools. All right, we're going to start again with 4 balls. And, okay, order matters because it's permutation. And we're going to replace the ball so we can have repeats. Okay, so you could think of it as a password, like most passwords are pins, let's say a pin, where the numbers can repeat. Okay. So for every slot, let's say the first slot, there's 4 balls or colors that it could be. For the next slot, there's also 4. Okay. So we're going to do from 4 balls, choosing 2. Okay. So for the red, there's always going to be 4. For the green, there's always going to be 4. Likewise, for blue, and likewise for yellow. Okay, so order matters, and we can repeat. So the way to calculate is just n to the power r. So in this case, 4 to the power 2. Okay, so these functions in Itertools are useful because they can let you check your work. So when I'm going through probability questions, what I would do is work them out on paper first, check your answer, and then this happens to me fairly often. I look in the back of the book and I have a different answer. And then automatically I'm thinking, maybe the book's wrong. So what you can do is use learn how to use those Itertools. You can make subsets and these things. I might make another video maybe to show how you can use the Itertools to check your work. Okay, so you can check your work there. Typically for me, I find out that no, the book was right. I was wrong. And here's the confirmation. And this way, you can teach yourself, I think, pretty well, because you can use that to verify the book. Sometimes the book is wrong, but very rarely in my experience. Okay, hope that was useful, and I think I will next do some specific examples in how we can use these functions to help us solve the problem.